I'm Janice Edwards. Welcome to Bay Area Vista. Today's show is all about love, attracting and nurturing the love relationship you want. Johnny and Dr. Lara Fernandez teach courses on how to break old relationship patterns and attract the love of your life. So we're having a crash course today on our show. Join us. That's next.
Conklin Brothers of San Mateo has provided in-studio flooring for Bay Area Vista. Conklin Brothers' motto is, "You can count on us."
Bay Area Vista, Vista, Bay Area, Bay.
Welcome to Bay Area Vista. I'm Janice Edwards. Thank you for joining us today. Now, this show is a bit unique because our entire half hour is going to be spent with a married couple who teach courses on attracting your soulmate. Before finding each other, they both had endured some relationship failures, so wherever your experiences are on the spectrum, they have some information that you can use. Johnny and Dr. Lara Fernandez teach from a spiritually centered perspective on attracting soulmate love. Johnny is a former lawyer, but he says don't hold that against him. He has almost 20 years of experience in education and training, and Dr. Lara has 20 years in health and wellness as a chiropractor and a healer. So we're going to talk about the keys to finding true love, love myths that get in your way, and what you might be doing to repel your soulmate. Johnny and Lara, thanks for being back with us. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Oh, and I'm glad we're taking the time. I have to tell you, just from the time the crew heard about this, everyone said, oh, we have so many questions. And that's what happens. People always want to talk about love. I think if we have it and it's great, we're excited. If we're seeking it, we wonder why we don't have it.
Yeah.
So I know that you two, and I, in the interest of full disclosure, I have to say that I have taken some of the courses. They've been very helpful, and I look forward to giving you great updates. But at any rate, let's start with you, Johnny. Talk about, you two have been together for over 10 years. What was your life like before you met Lara?
Oh my God. Was there ever a life before Lara? There was. And you know, when it comes to relationships, I found that I was doing a lot of having a lot of great desires for great relationships, but not really creating the relationship that I wanted. I was married before, got divorced, and really made a wreck of the marriage. And I really had to look within and make some changes. So before Lara, it was a lot of, I want this, I sure wish it were different, but it wasn't turning out to be different.
And why do you think that was?
Me. I was always at the scene of the crime, and so it was really just that the concepts of love are very general out there in society, but a lot of people don't believe it, and I was one of those people. And it wasn't until I made a decision that actually it was so important to me that I was going to start finding out, how is it that people have soulmate love? How is it that people have this love that I hear about? It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. Some people hear about it, nobody sees it. And when I really started to discover and commit to making those changes in me, that's when things started to shift and change for me.
And it's interesting because you mentioned the common denominator in all of our relationships that have failed is us. We have to look to ourselves, which is sometimes the most painful thing to do, because it's really easy to blame the other person and say, you didn't give me this. But the truth is that there's a lot of work to be done. So Lara, tell me about what was going on with you before you met Johnny.
Well, I too had a preparatory marriage before I met Johnny, and it was very painful. And after the marriage, after it ended in divorce, I went through what we call serial monogamy. And what I found over the years, though, is I would look back on my relationships after the relationship had failed, and would discover, wow, this is the same problem that I had with this man that I had with the previous relationship and then the previous one. So it got to the point where I felt I was really dating the same man in a different body. And so that's when I realized, like Johnny, that it was me. I was the common denominator in all the relationships, and something had to change. And it got to a point of where I was, after one relationship had ended pretty painfully, where I had to make a decision about my life. And I decided I was either going to be a cat lady, the cat lady with 50 cats, or I was going to be with my soulmate. It was going to be one or the other, because I'd had on that spectrum, if this is the cat lady and this is the soulmate love, I'd had everything in between.
So the not so ideal relationships, the almost, but
I'd had that,
right.
but I'd never had that lifelong, never experienced that, and really, honestly, never really, I didn't see it in the people
did you
around
believe
me.
that it existed?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I felt in my soul that there had to be something more. I believed that our Creator put us here for a reason, and that love is the ultimate reason.
Yeah.
And so I had the faith that there was more.
So you had both had marriages that failed. You were doing internal work.
Yes.
And then what was the period of time between starting that work and you two meeting each other?
It was about 2 years.
2 years.
2 years of very intense, really surrendering to the process of growth and transformation. For me, that included moving from New York. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, born and raised there, and moved out here to California to really shift and change my life. And look outside of myself, because I figured I had tried it long enough, trying to figure things out myself. And so I looked outside of myself. I got spiritual guides, I got therapy, I did bunches of things, went to workshops, personal development, to really move outside of my own comfort zone and what was natural and made sense to me, because what made sense to me wasn't getting me the results that I really wanted. So.
Right.
And I hired a love coach. I mean, I just
Now, what is a love coach? Because a lot of people don't know what that is.
It's basically what Johnny and I do now.
Right.
A love coach is somebody who mentors you and helps you prepare yourself, helps you remove blocks that would be holding back love from you, and helps you, number one, actually believe that it can happen. That's really, I think, you have to believe on some level. Maybe you don't believe 100%, but could you believe, 90%? 80%? Could you start at 5% and work up
Wherever
from
you
there?
can.
Wherever
believe.
you can.
And then you have someone who's actually working with you to
Yes.
reinforce that.
Yes.
So you two met through a dating service,
Yeah.
and did you know right away?
Very quickly.
Very quick.
Very
Is that
quickly,
like
within 3
one
weeks.
date, 3 weeks? Or
3
okay,
weeks.
Yeah,
Okay,
3 weeks.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
we had done the work beforehand,
Yep.
and so like Lara went on one date, and then me. That was her whole online dating experience, and
Yeah.
so. All right, I'm sorry to speak for you.
It's okay. It's okay.
But that was from doing the work up front, and a lot of people, what they do is they go out there and they are always looking outside, and so they're thinking it's going to be out there, I have to look out there, and really the answers are within, and you want to raise your vibration so that you become so much more an attractor to what it is that you desire, that he can't stay away, she can't stay away, and that's really what that was my experience when I moved out here to California. It was like, why are you moving to California? I don't know, I felt something, and what I felt was the call and the connection with Lara, and that's why I didn't know anybody, and there's like earthquakes out here, and
Right.
so.
And now, especially a lot of men who are hearing that are going to say, really? Because there's a lot of skepticism about that, and especially, and we'll talk about keys in a moment, but there's the thought, well, it's a numbers game. I know that's one of your love myths too, that and it's that you've got to be out there dating and meeting a lot of people, because how else are you going to know? But you say no to that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, we had a client, one of our Love Launch clients, who is in her late 40s, and she told us she'd dated thousands of men.
Wow.
Thousands over the course of her lifetime. And so she was clear that love was not a numbers game. But once she started working with us and removing her blocks, because she had some blocks, once she did that, within a year and a half of working with us, she magnetized. She met her soulmate. They're together now. We're going to be having dinner with them soon. And yeah, so it's not a numbers game.
Not at all.
It's about the internal. It's what's going on inside.
Now, you use the word magnetize, which people may not be
Yes.
familiar with. I mean, you know what a
Mm-hmm.
magnet is, but what does that mean in terms of your soulmate?
Yeah, it really means to be the one, right? To be the soulmate, to be living your life at your highest vibration, which means you're enjoying your life. You're not stopping your life. You may have your times when you're down, because I remember when I was single, I remember feeling down. I remember feeling downright depressed at times, but I didn't stay there. That's the key. I would get up and keep going.
It's get out of the cycle.
Yeah, so to magnetize means to attract, to be ready, be prepared, be open, have the heart be open, so that when he or she actually shows up, you can recognize them. And that's a lot of the work that we do with our clients, is helping them remove those blocks and prepare themselves so their heart can be open, so they're not blocking a potential soulmate from them.
Right, and also recognizing too that sometimes you're attracting what's still within, and it's working through that process
Yes.
too. That if
Yeah,
you
and
meet
loving
someone,
yourself through that
right? If you
process.
meet someone and you think, oh, this is a terrible person, or he's a jerk, or she's a jerk, or something, then you have to look at the jerk in you, which is not
You
such a
kinda
nice
do,
thing
which
to
is
do.
not fun.
But
No,
right, but you
it's
got
not
to.
fun.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes people need to take a little break,
Okay.
you know, from dating or anything like
Right.
that. Just take a break, go on a little diet, and then go within to
Right.
start to shift and change what it is that you're attracting.
You mentioned change, so we're going to put some of the love keys up. We've talked about some of these, but just so you can see them on the screen. One is be willing to change. Then take responsibility for previous relationship problems. Make love a higher priority, which is part of the love coaching too. And reflect on emotional maturity. So we haven't really talked about that one out of these. Reflecting on emotional maturity. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, emotional maturity really is recognizing what is valuable to you in your life. And it kind of goes with that other key of making love a higher priority. So emotional maturity includes taking responsibility, not blame. And there's a key distinction there, because when you're blaming, you're kind of whacking yourself in the head, and there's no real growth that's going to happen there. But taking responsibility for how powerful you are to have created these relationships, even if they weren't great. Just how powerful you are to have created that. And when you take that sense of responsibility, you recognize, oh, I wasn't as kind and loving to myself. Oh, I wasn't as kind and loving to this other person. Oh, I wasn't honest. Oh, I wasn't committed. These are things that we see a lot in people, and because we saw it in ourselves, not being honest, not being committed. And so once we start to see that I could be more honest, more committed, more joyous and more happy about my life, you realize that to be a mature person, you recognize that you're not looking to be saved. Lara always says, you know,
A man is not a plan.
right. And so you're not looking to be saved, and you're not looking to save the princess in the tower. You're looking to
And
have
so the
a
man's not looking to save either?
No, I'm not looking to ride up on a white horse and be someone's total answer. I was happy with my life, and she was in addition to that, and vice versa. So it's not like we're looking for the other person to save us.
Or complete you,
Or
like
complete
that
you,
famous
that's-
line from Jerry Maguire,
Yeah.
right?
Right. So many people have gone down the wrong road with that idea, which is that somehow you have to put yourself out there as being incomplete in order to attract, and that's you're going to attract someone who's just as kind of not ready as you. So emotional maturity, really, just to go back to that, is really about recognizing that love is really important. It's a whole life endeavor, not just a what to do on Saturday night endeavor.
Yeah, that's great. We'll put those up again, those love keys. You can take a look at those for one moment there. And the next thing we're going to talk about are some of the myths, because they come up, and we've alluded to some of those. Some of them are, all the good ones are taken.
Yeah.
Men are interested in sex, not marriage. Soulmates just got lucky to find each other. So let's talk about all the good ones are taken, and what happens if that's a myth as opposed to a reality in the world. When people look at numbers and statistics, people would say, oh, that it's true, all the good ones are taken, but you say no.
No, absolutely not. Well, first of all, I just want to say that the basic premise that Johnny and I work with in all of our Love Launch programs, all the coaching that we do, the basic premise is that soulmate love is your birthright. That is your right. Our Creator gave that to you, to love and be loved at such a high level and for a lifetime. So that's the myth that all the good ones are taken. I bought into that myth in my single days. I remember hanging out with my girlfriends, my single girlfriends, over wine at dinner and complaining about, there's just not enough good enough men, in the single heterosexual men that are emotionally available in the Bay Area. And what I believe is that our words create our circumstances. Our words are powerful. Yes. And so what we think in our mind, the words that we think in our mind and the words that we say create our circumstances. So the first thing is to realize that and to be willing to have it be a different experience. And what I want to say about that is I remember there was one scene in my mind of when I was single, and I was in chiropractic school, and I was a good friend with this man who was married and madly in love with his wife, and he was really one of the good men, like Johnny, like one of those good men. Like, and I remember thinking, we were studying together with a group of people, and I remember just looking at him, and he was talking about how much he loved his wife and his life, and I was just like, gosh, you know, there's no more men out there like you. And he said, oh yes, there is. He goes, but you're creating your circumstances, and I just want to let you know, Lara, if I was single, and I'm not interested in you, but if I was single, I would ask you out. And that was like a light bulb for me, because I realized, oh, if there's one good man on the planet, if there's one good man who would be interested in me, there's got to be at least one more.
Okay.
There's billions of men on the planet. At least there's one more.
Now, it's interesting because one of the I asked people for different questions and comments about today, and one that I got from a man is that whenever he sees couples talking about how much in love they are, he's sure that one of them's really cheating, and I guess that's a belief system, but that's pretty common. There's a lot of cynicism, especially we've seen it with politicians where marriages all of a sudden are revealed. We've seen it with ministers, etc. So there's a lot of thought and unfortunately a lot of truth with that. So what do you say to people who may come to the course or are dealing with that level of experience and reality?
Well,
Johnny?
there are core beliefs that repel out true love. And you might have heard this saying, if you're a hammer, all you see is nails. And so when people believe that, which many people do, their soulmate literally could be walking right by them and they simply would not see them. We've had this happen with people in our courses. We had one person who knew her soulmate for 9 years, and he was telling her, I'm in love with you, and it was like the noise, background noise. She just was not interested, wasn't hearing it. And so like with that person that said that, they're seeing a certain world out there. So what they see reflected back to them is people cheating, people not being sincere, not being honest. Why? Because within them, they either are doing that or they fear that were they to have that kind of love, they would mess it up. And so they want to see that to make themselves feel better. It's not that they're to be blamed, it's just there's a lot of evidence of that.
System.
But you know what I see? I see people all around deeply in love. I see commitment. I see so much modern chivalry in other men that I admire. I see so many women who are so dedicated to their husbands and their families. That's what I see around me, because that's what's coming from within me. And so the aberration is occasionally there are people that are insincere, but that's just an aberration. That's not really the place that I'm coming from. And so when people come from that place of that's all they see, when we go deeper, what we're looking at is there are some core beliefs in there that needs to be shifted and changed. Otherwise, you can go on 5 million dates. You're not going to find your soulmate.
Now, is there more than one soulmate for someone?
Possibly.
Possibly,
I mean,
okay.
that's one of the we get asked that a lot.
Right.
It's a great question. What I say is there may be 100, there may be 1,000 soulmates. We don't really know, but all you really care about is finding your one.
That's a good answer.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you both had that sense with each other. The person who for 9 years didn't see the soulmate, what happened ultimately in that case?
Oh, they're married and have babies, or one baby.
One
right?
baby
One
so
baby
far.
so far. And
So what happened to shift that?
well, she started to, in the work that we do, we get out of the surface level, which is where the overwhelming majority of when you go to the bookstore, 7 out of 10 books are really designed at a very surface level to appeal to things like that. And so we got out of the surface level, we go underneath as to who you really are desiring and who in your heart you are being. Because it comes from, like Lara said, you have to be the one to attract the
Be
one.
authentic in that.
And so when she looked at her list of who she wanted, and we went underneath the, tall surfer guy, stuff like that.
Oh,
that
you
was
surf?
there. No, this is what was
Oh.
on her list,
Okay.
right? Is, a certain kind of look,
client's.
the client's list.
Oh, that client. Okay.
No, there's a certain kind of look and feel. It was all really good stuff, but the part that was the most important was kind of getting slower, less importance, and that was really how she feels around him, how he feels to her. And so what she started to realize was how she wanted to feel, and then she realized, I feel that way with him. I realize that he is my soulmate, because when I close my eyes and I feel, and this is where spirituality comes in, because you've got to have a connection with something outside of yourself. And so when I go inside, I connect with my creator, my higher power, and I feel the love that I really desire, that's him.
Wow. That's
And
powerful.
she's just totally head over heels and amazing, and just, you know, it's wonderful. And that's what we're talking about, is allowing yourself to surrender to something outside of yourself so that you can then have really the ultimate experience of life, which is being with someone who is an expression of your best self. And that's what Lara is for me, my expression of my best self.
That's wonderful. And that's really a testimony for that man, too. 9 years of waiting for her to come around and recognize that.
Yeah.
But
Well, he
being-
wasn't waiting. He was just living his life.
Oh, he was
and he
okay.
kind of like figured time would, I don't know, I didn't talk to him. But,
Right.
you know.
He'd check it every now and then.
Right.
Well, these are great. So we want to, dealing with the myths again, men are interested in sex, not marriage. You want to address that one at all?
Yeah. Women often put that out there. They think that that's what is going to be attracted. So men are generally, we're kind of responding. We're very clear that it is the feminine power. And the feminine, meaning the feminine and the masculine. It can be a feminine woman and a masculine woman as well. So, but you know, the woman will attract the man. And so there is the feminine power to attract is there. And so basically whatever is offered in terms of how we're going to be connecting, that's what generally we're going to respond to. And so a lot of times women are saying to the guy who is the soulmate material, for lack of a better term, you go away, but you, bad boy, who is not good for me and is not, you know, and is connecting with my lack of feeling good about myself, you, I want to have more of. And so when we hear that that is what is out there, what is happening from within, is really, again, like if you're a hammer, all you see is nails. Because there's lots of guys, I used to hang out with them when I was single, and I still know them now, who are like, I'm not trying to do that. I actually want to find my wife.
So,
But,
so women who come to the workshop then who are attracted to bad boys would have to start to deal with some of those deep core beliefs as to why, and underneath it probably is really saying, not really interested in the commitment that you say you're seeking, or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
let me speak to that just if you don't mind. We have some time for that. We had a couple of clients who were in their late 40s, early 50s, and they really connected at some of the workshops. And I remember them talking to me about how they had always wanted wealthy men. That was part of their generational conditioning. As you know, marry wealthy. That's if you're going to marry, you might as well marry wealthy. And what they found is they would attract men over the years that were wealthy, you know, flying on the private jets, all of that, but they had no time for them, and ultimately were not, you know, loving to them. And so once they both got clear that that really didn't matter that much, that's nice, but that's not the top of the list, so to speak, it's not a high priority, and they started to do the inner work, they both manifested wonderful men with plenty of money, maybe not flying them on a private jet, but once they were willing to like really get past the surface and go deeper into the qualities of the man they wanted and how they made them feel, then they manifested.
Wow, that's powerful. We are almost out of time. It's hard to believe the time has gone so quickly.
wow.
But we're going to talk about, let's look at what repels a soulmate. And you talk about leaky energy, the unavailable syndrome, less than ideal, and dangerous love. So leaky energy, explain what that is.
I love to talk about this. Okay. Leaky energy is friends with benefits. And ladies and gentlemen know what I'm talking about, okay? And this is a really powerful way to block your soulmate.
Hanging out with exes, in other
Hanging out
words,
with
having intimate.
Exes
Yeah,
or just
time.
friends.
Okay.
That they could just be friends that, you know, it's fun to,
Right.
you know,
Have a
meet up with.
sleepover.
Have a sleepover.
We'll say because we're on a college campus.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
And there's nothing wrong with that if you're clear that you don't want a deep connected lifetime soulmate type of relationship. If you're just wanting to play around, like in
And
college,
being safe and healthy with
and
that.
being
We
safe,
have to
of
add
course,
that.
that's always yes. But I'm just saying, like, as long as everybody's clear about that and responsible, great. But it's when you say you want a soulmate, but then you have a friend on the side
Right.
for the little
For a lot of
hookup every
peripheral
now and
people, right.
That is a great way to block soulmates.
Well, you know what? We are pretty much out of time.
Wow.
So I know
wow.
it's gone by
Wow.
so
Yes.
quickly, but I just thank you because this is great information. It's a tidbit. I hope it's helped with at least getting interested and starting to think about changing thoughts and beliefs, those core beliefs, to really attract what you say you want and tell the truth about really wanting that too. Yeah. So thank you both for being here. It's just awesome to talk with you again, and I hope this has been really great for everyone. If you'd like to contact Johnny and Dr. Lara, the information is on our screen. The information for their websites, about their workshops, and the deep work that you've done. And I know that as we all three have been through divorce, and it's been great to have that as something that's helped me as well. So I thank you for that also. And thanks again for being here.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's been great. Thank you for having us.
Certainly. And we thank you for being with us. That's our show. I'm Janice Edwards. Thanks for all that you do to make our Bay Area the great and the loving place that it is. We hope to see you next time. Join us then.